What's up YouTube, it's Mr. Stevie J893 and I'm back with another video. And today I want to talk about the Nexus 4 and kind of do a small comparison of that and the Galaxy S3. I know the Nexus 4 is actually sold out on the Play Store, and the Galaxy S3 has been out for some time now, and it's really the kingpin of Android smartphones right now. And I just want to do a brief comparison of the two. I picked up a Galaxy S3 just last week, and I'm really loving it right now. But like I said, I wanted to do a fair comparison of the two, and so there's certain areas that I wanted to actually discuss. First is the operating system on both, followed by the battery, the camera, the size, screen size that is, and display, and then the price, and then the last thing I'm going to talk about is the storage. If you see me looking off every now and then, I've got some notes that I wrote down on each phone that I'm actually discussing, so that's why I'm kind of looking off every so often. But let's go ahead and get into it. Now, the first area that we want to talk about is the operating system. Now, the first thing that you need to know is that the Nexus 4 is shipping with Android 4.2 Jellybean. And as you may or may not know, the S3 is shipping with Android 4.0, which is Ice Cream Sandwich. Now, obviously, if you want the latest Android updates, you're going to want that Nexus 4 because every update is going to be pushed straight to it. And right now, there's a big wait for the for Jellybean for the Galaxy S3. Last I saw a couple of days ago, I saw that it was Jellybean was being released in South Korea, and then just today I'm seeing that T-Mobile here in the States is actually receiving their Jellybean update for the Galaxy S3. So obviously, if you want the most updated operating system, you're going to want that Nexus 4. But for me, I'm finding that, it's not that big of a difference to where I feel like I'm lagging behind, with the ice cream sandwich on this Galaxy S3. I think is great. I mean, if you really think that the wait between ice cream sandwich and jelly bean is bad, just remember this. My phone that I had before this Galaxy S3 was an HTC Inspire, and that when it shipped with Froyo, and it only got updated to Gingerbread. And the last update that I got to it was probably 3 or 4 months ago, and that was just an update to Gingerbread. Now that was seriously lagging behind. So for everybody who's running ice cream sandwich now, and you feel like you're lagging behind or you're missing out, just hold on. It's not going to be that much longer. I mean, I know, in different reports and things we've seen and we've heard that it's supposed to be coming out, and it's coming, but it's not here yet. But trust me, ice cream sandwich is great as it is. So let's move on to the next area. The next area is the battery. Now both of these phones ship with the same size battery. That's a 2100 milliamp hour battery, and that simply means that both phones are rated to run for about the same amount of time. Now keep in mind that's dependent upon whatever apps you're using. If you're using battery intensive apps, then of course you're not going to get the same amount of battery runtime on each phone. But for the most part, they should run the same. Same size battery in each. And also keep in mind the Nexus 4's battery is not removable, whereas the Galaxy S3's is. All right. So next, let's go on to the the camera. Both phones have 8 megapixel rear facing cameras. Both cameras shoot 1080p video, and I know for a fact that the Galaxy S3 is 1080p at 30 frames per second. So, right there, both rear facing cameras are great. They pretty much cancel each other out. Now, where the difference is, at least to me, is that the Nexus 4, the front facing camera, is a 1.3 megapixel camera, whereas the Galaxy S3 is a 1.9. Now, for the most part, people who have the phones, that's not really a big deal. However, if you do a lot of video chatting, video conferencing, then there's going to be some variation between the two. And you just have to make your choice based on your uses. Right now, I don't really think it would be a big difference either way. It's really your personal preference, and I'm fine. I've looked at the Galaxy S3's front-facing camera, and it's fine. 1.9 megapixel is fine, and I'm sure for those of you that want to get that Nexus 4, I'm sure that 1.3 is going to be fine. We often get caught up in the numbers as far as megapixels, and that's not everything. But either way, I think they're both are great cameras. All right, and so the next thing we're going to move on to is size. Now, we already know that the Galaxy S3 diagonally is 4.8 inches. The Nexus 4 is 4.7, so that's only a tenth of an inch difference, and that's not really that big of a deal. I guess the biggest difference you'll see it is if you're trying to view web pages or play games, then you might see some difference. But even at this size, we're talking about 4.7 and 4.8 inches. That's pretty standard fare now. Whereas about a year or so ago, everybody was really getting on board with the 4 and 4.5 inches was seen as huge. Now we're looking at the Galaxy Note 2 with 5.3, 5.5 inch screen. So I think this 4.7 and 4.8 inch, it's a comfortable medium, and it's like I said, it's only a tenth of an inch difference between the two. All right, so next, let's talk a little bit about the displays. Now, the display on the Nexus, at least from what I'm seeing stat-wise, looks a little bit better, and that's because it's got a 1280 by 768 screen, as opposed to the Galaxy S3's 1280 by 728 or 720. So that's a little bit different, and obviously the pixels per inch is going to be better on the Nexus 4. Nexus 4 also has an IPS display versus the Galaxy S3's Super AMOLED, HD Super AMOLED screen. Now, Super AMOLED was great, a year ago, but now we're looking at IPS panels which have a sharper image, better viewing angle. So I think as far as that aspect of the screen, the Nexus 4 actually, you have to give it up and give credit where it's due. The Nexus 4 is better in that area. And one of my concerns as far as the screen or the display for the Galaxy S3 before I got it was I was concerned about washout because, like I said, the phone that I had before, the HTC Inspire, when you go outside in sunlight, it just pretty much washed out, and that was a concern that I had with the Galaxy S3, especially with the Super AMOLED display. But I can tell you, just in my personal use, using it, actually being outside in sunlight, I haven't had any problems with it. I mean, there's a little bit of washout, but it's infinitely better than what I had. And I'm sure, like I said, with the Nexus 4 having an IPS panel, that's even better. So I think as far as that aspect goes, the Nexus 4 wins. Now also, the Nexus 4 has a glass front and glass back. So that's gonna, one, you've got a fingerprint magnet, and two, you've got to be concerned about holding on to this thing and not dropping it. So you're definitely going to want to put some type of case on that. Whereas the Galaxy S3 has the glass front and then the polycarbonate back. And even with that, you still want to put protection on that. So for me, I would prefer the Galaxy S3 with the glass front and the plastic back. And then you also have to keep in mind that both phones have the Corning Gorilla Glass 2. So I think beyond the IPS versus the HD Super AMOLED displays, I think both of these screens are pretty good. However, you just have to really be concerned with the Nexus 4 and the glass front and back. Alright, next is a really big kicker, the price. If you haven't seen already on the Play Store, Google Play Store, the Nexus 4, which at this time is completely sold out. At the time this video is being made, the Nexus 4 is sold out, and expected wait times are now 3 weeks. But the price for it is great. It's $299 unlocked. Now, when you compare that to what the Galaxy S3's price is unlocked, there's absolutely no comparison. I mean, the Nexus 4 wins out. it's $299 versus $549.99 unlocked for the Galaxy S3. But now here's the kicker: that $549.99, like I said, is the unlocked price. Now, if you get the Galaxy S3 on contract, and I'm speaking for my personal experience, I got it on contract with AT&T with a 2-year commitment. It's $199.99, and also AT&T is running a special where you buy one Galaxy S3, you can get any other Galaxy phone for up to $100 off, and that's based on the price of the phone. So I ended up buying two Galaxy S3s, one for me, one for my wife, and I got $100 off the second one. So basically, I bought two Galaxy S3s for $150. So initially, when you look at that $299 versus $550, it swings in the Nexus 4's favor. But when you look at certain things, at least for me, carrier specific wise, I think I came out a heck of a lot better. Basically $150 for one phone, two phones for $300, which is the same price that the Google Play Store is charging for one Nexus 4. Now, also, here's another kicker for those of you that may be interested in the Galaxy S3. If you get a chance, Google uh, Sam's Club 2012 Black Friday, their ad. And what you'll find is that Sam's Club is selling, they will be selling on Black Friday, they will be selling the Galaxy S3 with a 2-year contract for 96 cents. That's not a mistake, that's 96 cents, not $96, but 96 cents. Absolute steal. If you've ever messed with this phone or played around with it, you know that 96 cents is basically getting away with robbery. And if you haven't had a chance, I'd recommend that you go into any local store and mess around with it for a little bit, and you'll see that you're getting a great phone. Actually, I think both of these phones are great. But like I said, since I have the Galaxy S3, I can speak a little bit more on that regard. Now, the last area that I want to talk about is storage. And here's where, at least to me, the Nexus 4 is kind of at a disadvantage, because the Nexus 4, first of all, it ships with either an 8 or 16 gig variant. That's it. There's no other versions, and there is no expandable storage. It has no micro SD card storage areas. Whereas the Galaxy S3 ships its smallest variation is 16 gigs, so it's matching the highest variation of the Nexus 4. So it's shipping with 16, 32, and 64 gigs. Um, and those prices, like I said, with 2-year contract, that you can check with your different carriers for the prices on those. But in addition to that, the Galaxy S3 also has micro SD card storage, and it can recognize up to a 64 gig SD card. So potentially, if you've got a 64 gig phone plus a 64 gig card, you've got 128 gigs of storage. It's like half the storage on some of these new computers that are coming out now. So uh, right off the bat, I mean, that's a lot of storage on the phone. Now, in addition to that, when you buy the Galaxy S3, you also get for AT&T, you also get 50 gigs of free storage for 2 years on Dropbox. So it's a lot of storage. I mean, you're looking at, like I said, up to a 64 gig phone, plus up to a 64 gig micro SD card, plus an additional 50 gigs of storage. So right there, it's no comparison. If storage is what you're looking for, the S3 is actually going to win out there. So, when you go back and you look at everything, I just want to wrap it up by saying that I think both of these phones are great, and I think it's good, uh, healthy competition, within Android. I think it's great because you've got all these different phones made by different manufacturers, and they're coming out uh, with all of this stuff on it, trying to get our attention and trying to get our business. And I think these two right here, the Nexus 4, which is being manufactured by LG, I think it has a lot of great things going for it. But I think that the things that hurt it, obviously, is the fact that it doesn't have a removable battery. Uh, and the storage. It ships with 8 and 16 gigs of storage, and it has no additional storage. Uh, my last phone again, the HTC Inspire. This is from, it came out February 2011. I bought it in April of 2011, and it shipped with 8 gigs of storage. Phones now generally start with 16 gigs. So I think those two areas really hurt the Nexus. But then again, it flips around and it kind of pulls ahead to me because it ships with Android 4.2 Jellybean. The price is $299 right off the bat, and it also has the IPS display. And so flipping that around, looking at the Galaxy S3 side, we already know that it ships with ice cream sandwich, and the Jelly Bean update is coming. That's, for some, that's a sticking point. It to me is it's minor, but you do have to recognize that that is a sticking point for some. Another thing that cripples it is its price. Unlocked, if you want it unlocked, you're paying $550. But beyond that, it's got a lot of great pluses. You've got the fact that it does have the removable battery. It does have the 1080p shooting. It shoots video 1080p at 30 frames per second. It also has the glass front. It's not glass front and back, but it's glass front and polycarbonate back, and it's got multiple storage options. And then when you also look at the price features, now I kind of said the price on the Nexus 4, but then you've also got to recognize the price on the Galaxy S3 on contract for AT&T at least is $199. And then they also have a special where you can potentially buy two of them, get it for $150. So right there, if you do that, you've paid half the price of a Nexus 4. And then lastly, going back to the storage on the Galaxy S3, you've got up to 64 gigs of storage, 64 gig micro SD card, and 50 gigs of free storage on Dropbox. Great, great. A lot of people, that's the thing now, storage. People like to be able to store their items and be able to get to it. And really, the cloud is the way a lot of people are going. It's not necessarily something that I prefer, but just being smart, you have to recognize all areas. It's not just about storage on the phone, but it's actually about, online storage. And this is something that you get, 50 gigs free for 2 years. Got to take advantage of that. All right, so if you guys have any questions or any comments, let me know what you think. Leave me a comment below. Like the video, give me a thumbs up, and hope to see you guys subscribe. Talk to you later. Bye.